What's up everybody, it's Joshua C again. Yes, today's unboxing is kinda excited for me because today this phone, it has a professional camera setting for its photography and also videography setting. Yep, aku tak bohong, memang betul. Yes, it's this, the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II. By using this Sony Xperia 1 Mark II, you can really feel that you're using a professional camera on it. But if you ask me on its practicality and pricing, is it worth buying it? Well, that's what we're going to check it out. Okay, so you got a simple minimalist looking box with Xperia 1 Mark II imprinted on it, and once you open it up, you got the menus, 18-watt charging adapter, USB Type-C, and 3.5mm earphones. Okay, so basically we got everything out of the box, and I've noticed something is missing. Where's the SIM pin 2? Is it really missing? Well, it's not, because it's memang tak ada. Why? Because Sony has made its SIM slot accessible with just your finger. Let me show you. So the SIM slot is on the top left of the phone, and if you notice, there's no tiny dedicated pinhole to take it out, but it has this small little pocket for you to use your fingernails to pull it out. Easy peasy, you can get the SIM slot out, and this is a 2-in-1 SIM slot. You got 2 SIM card and a micro SD slot for you. Okay, so I gotta say, this design is kind of smart for Sony to do it, and that way I don't have to worry about losing my SIM pin 2 and I can't take out my SIM anymore. Okay, so now let's talk about the outlook and design of it. It's pretty much similar to the previous Sony Xperia 1, and the only noticeable difference is on the camera module, which is moved from center part to the side, and the whole build is still based on 21:9 form factor, which is quite long and tall, but because it's slim enough, holding on to it is still very comfortable. Just that maybe of its form factor, the tall form factor, you get a hard time touching on the top with a single hand. As for the body frame, it's still remaining both glass front and back with Gorilla Glass 6 and aluminium framing on the sides, and also IP65 and IP68 water and dust. As for the I/Os, it has a 3.5mm audio jack on the top and a USB-C charging port on the bottom, and on the side it has this SIM slot and also the volume rocker, the fingerprint 2-in-1 power button, and also this, the dedicated shutter button. And speaking about the shutter button, you can even set a shortcut key to access to the camera app, or even press and hold to launch the Photography Pro. Now on the front, it has a 6.5-inch 21:9 Cinema Wide HDR OLED display that has a 4K resolution on it. And yes, this is a 4K display which you don't normally get on other flagship devices, and especially for those of you who like to watch Netflix and videos on your smartphone, well, this is pretty enjoyable to watch on. But with that 4K pixel, you need to sacrifice something, which is the higher refresh rate. Yes, it doesn't come with any high refresh rate like 120 or 90 Hz, but to compensate that, Sony has added the motion blur reduction feature to make your display look smoother, and as well as video image enhancement and creator mode to adjust the visual and colors of the videos for specific needs. It also has this smart ambient display in sleep mode that doesn't just wake up while you get a new notification, but also pauses or beeping the specific for the app that just received a new notification, so you know which is the latest notification. And another cool feature that you don't normally see in a flagship nowadays are the notification LED light indicator on the top of the screen. And it has these 2 front-facing stereo speakers which supports a high-res audio and also Dolby Atmos audio. And whenever you plug in your headphones to this 3.5mm audio jack, you get a 360 reality audio feature. So let's listen to the audio samples. So what do you think? Isn't it great? The audio quality, once you turn on the Dolby Atmos feature, it sounded pretty nice and bassy. Now let's go into the camera feature, the main highlight of this phone. So the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II has a triple rear camera setup with 12MP main camera, 12MP 3x zoom telephoto lens, 12MP ultra wide angle lens, and a 3D eye TOF sensor, which gives a faster autofocus speed. And if you notice, there's this Zeiss SD star marking on the camera module. This is because that the whole triple camera, rear camera here is coated with the XD star coating, which can reduce the lens reflection. And as you guys know, like this Sony Xperia 1 Mark II is built for speed. So since it's for speed, it can shoot up to 20 frames per second of burst shot with just one click on this dedicated shutter key. Let me show you. Once I open up the camera app, and here I go. 1, 2, 3, go. Look at that, isn't it like a machine gun, the shutter speed? Wow, one press, you can go up to 20 frames per second. And this is not just on the default camera app, but also you can go into the Photography Pro app and set it and configure it to the multi-burst shot. And once you launch into this Photo Pro app, the whole interface of it is designed just like you're holding a Sony mirrorless lens. All the mode selection, the shutter speeds, ISO, white balance, and even you can shoot in RAW. So it's exactly the same if you ever used a Sony mirrorless camera before. Besides, it also has a dedicated CinemaPro app for video capturing. You'll get a customized and set the project frame rate, resolutions, and even color filters that will give you a more desaturated look. Now, let me tell you, this is the stuff that I always wanted in a smartphone, because normally when you're shooting a video or shooting a photo in a smartphone, the default color is always been a little bit more saturated. Same goes to this phone if you're using the default app. So let me tell you, once you use the CinemaPro app, you're no longer going to get rid of it, because there's this one feature in it that I can't stop using it, which is the customizable focus ring on it. So normally, right, you only can put tap and focus on your normal camera app while you're doing video shooting. But in this CinemaPro app, you can now control your focus ring with point A and point B, and then all you need to do is just to, let's say you put point A as the defocus one, and then point B as the focus point. So whenever you shoot something, you want to create a pull focus effect, all you need to do is go from your point B and then start from your point B and then just press point A, which is your clear focus ring, and it will automatically create the pull focus from blur to clear effect for you. So this made me feel like I'm really using a professional camera rather than a smartphone camera. But if you feel like you don't want to make a fuss, or you don't have much time, you just want to click to shoot and just go, well, there's always this default camera app for you to just one click and one shot. So since we talk about the CinemaPro app, the Pro app, and also this default camera app, let's take a look in some of the picture samples. The picture looks crisp and nice, where it can capture pretty fine details even when you zoom it in. And with eye and face detection, no matter what you're shooting with, or either a person or an animal, the subject will always stay in focus. But there's still some flaws and downside of the camera, where the highlight and the low light pictures are still not performing too well in the auto mode, unless you have the time to go to the Pro app mode and manually set it yourself. And as for the 8 megapixel front selfie camera, it's decent, but a little bit too over on the soft skin effect in my opinion. Okay, so since it's a camera-centric phone, you'll be asking if the battery life is good. Well, throughout my few days of review, few days of usage, the battery life, it can just enough, just nice to let me use up a whole day. So from morning to night, it's not a problem if you're not using the camera app heavily. But if you're using the camera app heavily and also you turn on the ambient display, well, it can only last you around a half day of usage. But luckily, it has this 18-watt fast charge and also wireless charging. So charging the 4000 mAh battery is not too long. And speaking about charging, well, there's one special feature that I want to mention about in this phone, which Sony added to the Game Enhancer app, where it's called the HS Power Control. And with the HS Power Control, you can just turn it on and then you plug your charger in and it will cut off the battery charging. And this is the tricky part of it, which when you turn on this mode, it will cut off the battery charging and turns the phone to purely only using the power source from the charging cable. So while you're turning on this mode, while you're using this HS Power Control, you're actually using the power adapter power source into your phone. So you're not using any power source from the battery, or you're not charging the battery. So this will prevent overheating, and also this will prevent from a battery damages. So I would say Sony made a smart move for this feature because it can protect your battery and also it can protect from overheating. But obviously if you're on the go, you can use this feature lah. So now let's come and talk about the hardware, the chipset of the phone. So the Xperia 1 Mark II comes with a Snapdragon 865 5G chipset with 8GB of RAM and 256GB of internal storage. But if you tell me that 256GB internal storage is not enough, because 256GB it only can capture around like maybe 50,000 pictures and also 100 plus videos, 4K videos, and you still feel like that's not enough, well, you still can add up to 1TB of micro SD card. So by then, don't tell me that's not enough, I smack you. So now let's come into the conclusion. So for this price of 4,999 ringgit on this Sony Xperia 1 Mark II, well, it's pretty competitive for a flagship phone because there's a lot of flagship devices out there with this price range, and all I would say is you gain something that other flagship did not offer, and also you lose something that other flagship offers, such as the high refresh rate and also a larger battery capacity. But here's the thing, Sony marketed this Xperia 1 Mark II as a camera-centric phone, which caters to a pro photographer and videographer, and also those who has just started the journey, so that it can have a phone that feels like a professional camera. But if you ask me, is it worth buying? Well, it's worth buying for those of you who want a camera-centric phone and those of you who just started off being a photographer, videographer and want to feel something pro by using a phone. So that's from my point of view. And if you really want to ask me about the something that I don't like about this phone, is this one, the fingerprint magnet design. So the fingerprint magnet design really drives me crazy. Okay, so that's probably it for today, and let me know what do you think about the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II in the comments below, and what are the biggest concerns if you want to buy the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II in the comments below. And if you like this video, remember to click like, hit subscribe, hit the bell icon, and also follow my Instagram. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.